75 years have passed since the stroke of midnight on August 15, 1947. At that moment, British India fractured into two independent nations, India and Pakistan. This momentous occasion, marking the end of colonial rule, was tragically shadowed by one of the largest mass migrations in human history. The partition, etched in the memories of generations, continues to shape the destinies of these two nations. Millions found themselves on the wrong side of the hastily drawn borders, their lives irrevocably altered. Homes were abandoned, journeys became perilous, and violence shook the very foundations of society. This essay delves into the tumultuous journey of India and Pakistan since 1947, exploring the events that have shaped their relationship and the lessons we can learn from this shared past. The seeds of partition were sown during British rule, nurtured by a divide and rule policy that exacerbated religious tensions. As the call for independence grew louder, so did the demands for a separate Muslim state, championed by the Muslim League under Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The Indian National Congress, led by Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, advocated for a unified India. In June 1947, the partition plan was announced, dividing Punjab and Bengal along religious lines. The hastily drawn Radcliffe Line, intended to demarcate the new borders, instead became a cruel instrument of division. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs, who had lived together for generations, were suddenly forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in a land they now considered their own. The journey was fraught with danger, marked by violence, looting, and unspeakable atrocities. The partition of India was not a bloodless affair. It descended into one of the darkest chapters in human history, marked by horrific violence and brutality. As millions fled across the newly created borders, they were targeted based on their religion. Trains, overflowing with refugees, arrived at their destinations littered with corpses. Villages were set ablaze, and women became targets of abduction and violence. The hastily assembled security forces were ill-equipped to handle the scale of the violence, leaving countless individuals vulnerable to attacks. The exact number of casualties during the partition remains unknown, lost to the chaos and the passage of time. The partition triggered one of the largest mass migrations in human history, with an estimated 14 million people displaced. Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs, who had once lived side by side, were uprooted from their ancestral homes and thrust into an uncertain future. Many refugees made the arduous journey on foot, carrying meager belongings and memories of a life left behind. Others crammed onto overcrowded trains, clinging to the hope of reaching safety. The journey was fraught with danger, and countless lives were lost along the way. The stories of these refugees, tales of resilience and loss, paint a poignant picture of the human cost of partition. The trauma of displacement, the loss of loved ones, and the shattering of communities continue to resonate through generations. Section 5. The Kashmir Conundrum, a dispute unresolved. Even before the ink had dried on the partition documents, the princely state of Kashmir emerged as a flashpoint between India and Pakistan. Ruled by a Hindu Maharaja but with a Muslim-majority population, Kashmir's accession to either dominion was fraught with complexities. The Maharaja's initial indecision ignited an armed conflict, leading to the First India-Pakistan War in 1947. The war ended with a United Nations brokered ceasefire in 1949, dividing Kashmir along a line of control. Both countries claimed the entire region as their own, leading to periodic flare-ups and a constant state of tension along the line of control. The unresolved status of Kashmir continues to cast a long shadow over the region, hindering peace and development. Section 6. Wars and Proxy Wars, from 1947 to 1999. The unresolved Kashmir dispute, coupled with political mistrust and simmering tensions, led to a series of conflicts. Following the 1947 war, India and Pakistan clashed again in 1965 and 1971. The 1971 war, sparked by the Bangladesh Liberation War, resulted in the creation of Bangladesh and a decisive victory for India. Beyond these full-blown wars, the two nations engaged in proxy wars, supporting militant groups operating within each other's territories. The constant threat of conflict diverted resources away from development and sowed the seeds of fear and suspicion among the populations. The loss of life, the displacement, and the economic consequences of these wars have left an indelible mark on both nations, hindering their progress and perpetuating a cycle of mistrust. Section 7. Nuclear Anxiety, a New Era of Conflict. The late 20th century witnessed a dangerous escalation in the India-Pakistan rivalry, with both countries conducting nuclear tests in 1998. This development ushered in a new era of anxiety, raising the stakes of any future conflict. The international community watched with concern as the two South Asian neighbors, armed with nuclear weapons, stood on the brink of a catastrophic confrontation. The nuclear tests heightened global anxieties about a potential nuclear arms race in South Asia. The international community responded with sanctions and diplomatic efforts to encourage dialogue and arms control agreements. The specter of nuclear war continues to loom large, a grim testament to the unresolved issues that plague the India-Pakistan relationship. Section 8. Beyond battlefields, the human cost of enmity. The long-standing animosity between India and Pakistan extends far beyond the battlefields. It permeates various aspects of life, impacting people-to-people contact, cultural exchange, and economic cooperation. The heavily militarized border, a constant reminder of the divide, restricts the free flow of people and ideas. Visa restrictions and limited cross-border travel opportunities hinder family reunions and cultural exchanges. Trade relations remain strained, depriving both nations of the economic benefits of cooperation. Despite the challenges, there are glimmers of hope through civil society organizations working tirelessly to bridge the divide. Section 9. A fragile peace, small steps, long shadows. Despite the long history of conflict and mistrust, there have been sporadic efforts at rapprochement between India and Pakistan. Various peace initiatives, dialogues, and agreements have been attempted over the years, with varying degrees of success. The 2003 ceasefire agreement along the line of control in Kashmir brought a period of relative calm. However, this fragile peace remains vulnerable to violations and escalations. The path towards normalization is fraught with challenges, requiring sustained dialogue, confidence-building measures, and a willingness to address the root causes of conflict. The journey towards lasting peace between India and Pakistan is a complex and arduous one. Section 10. Partition's Echoes, Lessons for Tomorrow. 75 years after the partition, its echoes continue to resonate in the present. The events of 1947 serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of division, the enduring legacy of violence, and the importance of peaceful coexistence. The stories of partition hold valuable lessons for future generations, urging us to learn from the mistakes of the past and strive for a more just and equitable world. The partition underscores the importance of dialogue, tolerance, and understanding in a world increasingly divided by differences. By acknowledging the shared history and the interconnectedness of their destinies, India and Pakistan can work towards a future where the wounds of the past are healed. By remembering the lessons of the past, fostering dialogue, and promoting understanding, future generations can work towards a more peaceful and interconnected world where the horrors of partition are never repeated.